Skip it up and that up. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Rich of Review Tech USA, and this is going to be a very interesting video. Square Enix came up to me and asked me to play Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn and discuss my gameplay experience. And I went to them and said, okay, that's great, but I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I've played virtually no MMOs before. Like, literally, in my entire lifetime, if I've played 2 hours of an MMO, that's a lot. And I told them that. I was straightforward with them, and they're like, yeah, that's exactly what we want. We want to have people who aren't into MMOs usually play Final Fantasy, see if we could sell them on it, see if they like the game, and then have them talk about it, and maybe we could have people that usually aren't MMO players try out Final Fantasy XIV. And to be honest with you, I'm glad they did, because I spent a lot of time with this game and I really enjoyed it. I have to say, I really enjoyed playing an MMO. I never ever thought I would say that. Now, I know there is a huge, rich storyline to the Final Fantasy series, so if I mess up any names, I do apologize. When it comes to character creation and character selection, there is a whole bunch of options. Like, there is a whole bunch of options. It is absolutely insane. Like, you could change your characters specifically to exactly what you want, to the point where it's almost like a fingerprint. No one else in the Final Fantasy world will have the same looking character as you. You could spend hours alone customizing your character. So rest assured, if you play other MMOs and you're wondering if you could really customize your character in Final Fantasy, trust me, you can. It was almost somewhat intimidating when I first started, when I first set up my character. I kept my character fairly straightforward, to be honest with you. I didn't change too much of his appearance, but you can do whatever you want to your Final Fantasy character. Now, I will say this in the beginning, because I'm an MMO noob, I was very intimidated, and I had no idea what I was doing. But luckily, Kat and Ryan over at Screenwave, they're big Final Fantasy players, or MMO players, I should say, and they showed me the ropes, how to use the map and how to use the combat system and everything. And after, I would say, about 20 minutes, realistically, I was pretty much on my own. I was standing on my own 2 feet. I knew how to navigate the map. Once you learn how to use the map, you realize it's actually very intuitive and it's easy to get where you need to go to. Also, too, you could fast travel with the aetheryte crystals all throughout the world. So if you need to go somewhere, you don't want to, run for 20 miles, you can just fast travel if you unlock that aetheryte crystal. And it is very intuitive. Once you learn how the mechanics of the game work, how the map works, it's very easy to get around. I will say this, and this is a first for me, you can play, this is on the PlayStation 4 as well, I believe it was on the PlayStation 3 also, but this is one of the few games I actually prefer to play with a mouse and keyboard. You can use a gamepad with this. It's fully compatible with a gamepad like the Xbox 360 gamepad if you play it on PC. I'm playing the PC version here. I couldn't imagine not using a mouse and keyboard. Everything, when you use a mouse and keyboard, you could just click on something. It's easier to do, when you're in combat, it's easier to be in combat using a mouse and keyboard. I know they do some things with the PlayStation 4 controller that make it a little more intuitive, but this is one of the few games, and I usually prefer a gamepad, that I rather use a mouse and keyboard with. Now, I never played the original Final Fantasy XIV. I know it wasn't very well received. I heard it wasn't very well optimized for PCs, and there was a lot of performance issues. But the thing I did hear is that visually it was a little more appealing. The graphics were better. But at the same time, I was playing this game and I thought it looked gorgeous. I love how you go from day to night, and there'll be, rain that comes, and there'll be a thunderstorm, and you'll see the lightning, excuse me, not hear the lightning. You'll see the lightning first, and then you'll hear the thunder. The vistas are gorgeous. Everything looks different, which is another thing I heard about Final Fantasy XIV, is that they reused a lot of the graphics. Like, if you go to one area, you'll see the same kind of stones, or they kept on repeating the same thing, so there wasn't as much variety, which was another big thing about the original Final Fantasy XIV that people didn't like. Here, every world you go to, every part of the world, I should say, that you go to, looks different, and it looks beautiful. I think it really, even though I hear they quote-unquote downgraded the graphics, I thought it was stunning, and it ran great. I have a high-end gaming rig, admittedly. I have a Titan X, and Intel Core i7 5960X, but I know that there were people playing this game on an Alienware Alpha, which has the equivalent of a GTX 860M, and they said it ran great on there as well. So you don't have to have a beefy rig to run Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn, so you don't have to worry about that. So you don't have to have super powerful hardware, and it still looks fantastic, this game. Now, the combat in Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn. Now, this is where I used to stick up my nose at MMORPGs and RPGs in general. I was never a fan of cooldown periods and turn-based combat where you gotta wait your turn to attack the enemy. But here in Final Fantasy XIV, I had fun. I never felt like I was doing nothing. I always felt in control of the battles. Like, for example, you'll have an enemy and they have a special attack. And when they have this special attack, you'll see like a square, an orange square where you're standing come up. And if you run out of that orange square, you won't get hit by their attack, and you could do that in real time. You could move around like you're almost playing a platformer, and that's the stuff that made me enjoy playing this game, because I never felt like I was just playing a straight up MMORPG. Now, again, I'm a noob. I can't compare this to other MMOs, but I was never bored. I had a lot of fun. I found it challenging without being overbearing or intimidating. I can easily say that within 5 minutes of being in battles that I knew the combat system enough that I could hold my own. Okay, this is coming from a guy, again, who has played virtually no MMOs before. If you know how to use a mouse and click on objects, you will be able to play Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn just fine. Now, dungeons are also a huge part of Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn. Here I am playing with Kat and Ryan over at Screenwave. Huge shout out to them. They gave me basically MMO 101 to help me learn how to play this game. And with these dungeons, a lot of it is about teamwork. Ryan was what is considered the tank, where he, you know, was the guy dealing the damage to the enemies the most. I was his support. Whatever enemy he was attacking, I was helping him attack to keep him alive. And then there was Kat in the background who was healing us as we were attacking him to make sure we stayed alive. So there is this whole system of like teamwork that's going on here, which is a lot of fun. It's very interesting, and everyone has to play their part. For you to survive like this dungeon, you have to play your part. You can't go and just like heal yourself or go and, you know, try to be a one-man army. Trust me, in this game I tried a couple times and failed miserably because of it. So that was very interesting. The boss battle at the end, like you're seeing here, there was like these 4 different panels where other enemies would come up, and we had to try to knock those panels down before the enemies could come up, while Ryan, who again is the tank, was fighting the main boss. So it was really interesting. It was all about strategy, and it was really refreshing playing this game. It was something totally different than what I'm used to. You guys know I'm a big first-person shooter guy and platformer, Castlevania, things like that. And to step out of my safety bubble of those genres of games and play something totally different like this was a lot of fun. I'm really engrossed in the Final Fantasy world, and even if you're not an MMO guy, like I was not, I suggest you give this game a chance. I think you'll really enjoy it. So huge shout out to Square Enix for giving me an opportunity to play this game, and I think they have something awesome on their hands, and now I can see why this game has been praised by so many people. Alright folks, this is Rich of Review Tech USA. Make sure to rate, comment, favorite, and subscribe, and as always, thank you for supporting my channel. Have a good one.